guys, thanks so much for joining me today on Drive Chats. I just wanted to address something that I think is truly important. I've talked about this before, but I do want to go a little bit deeper. So as most of you know, I am currently going back to school for my diploma in nutrition, diet, and health science. And I am actually just on an intro course, which is insane because I've already learned so much, and I am forever a student. So it doesn't matter if it's, a diploma or certification or just doing extra reading. It's always important to stay up to date, stay knowledgeable about nutrition and, the reason behind it. So this would be the second nutrition. I took a certification course for the nutrition program that I'm following, 2B Mindset, and I actually really loved it. The science was really awesome to me. I love things like that. I like to know the reasons why these programs are created. That being said, I want to address, and I will address this over and over again because I think it's a really important point, that each and every single person is unique, and there is no one size fits all when it comes to nutrition. And it just depends on so many things. It depends on your genetics, your metabolism, your body type, the kind of activities that you do, whether, you're working out every single day, maybe you live an active life, maybe you have a desk job. Those are things to keep in mind. And you want to remember the concept of eat more, move more, eat less, move less. So that doesn't mean don't eat enough and just don't move. That means really learning to know, okay, when I'm less active, my body doesn't need extra fuel, right? So you just need to eat according to what your body needs, what fuel you need. So a lot of times people will say, well, I'm not really sure that this nutrition program was working for me, but I don't know why, because it worked for, Lisa down the street. And the problem with that is, like I said, it's not a one size fits all. And that is what's great about studying and gaining knowledge towards nutrition. So one of the most interesting things that I think I've learned so far is that we rarely eat for nutritional value. Okay, so I'm going to break that down for you. When we eat, most times we're eating something because it tastes good, or we're eating something for a different reason other than my body needs, calcium, so I'm going to eat a bunch of leafy greens. Things like that. Most of the time, not all the time. And then there's another layer to that where we're eating as an emotional response, emotional eating. We're eating because we feel, upset or sad, or we're eating because we feel happy because we're surrounded by family. Think about all of your family events. What are they centered around? They're centered around food, right? And it's normally food that you grew up eating, like casseroles and things like that. So you're going to turn to those things because they taste good, because they are triggers for, happy memories, or you're feeling happy and everybody else is kind of socializing and eating these foods. And that's fine every once in a while. Everything in moderation. Moderation is key no matter what you're following. You can overeat on healthy food. All right, guys, sorry. I ran into some police cars. There must have been some work going on the side of the road. But anyways, back to what I was saying. You can overeat on healthy foods, but it's better to have nutrient dense foods, and it's better to know the reason behind why you're eating these foods, whether that is for taste, for emotions, things like that. And one thing you can do is when you're eating, you need to evaluate the purpose behind what foods you're eating. So obviously, if you're eating, on the smarter side, you're having whole grains, those are fiber-filled carbs. which are going to help you with bowel movements, so they're going to help you with sustainable energy. And one of the pieces of advice that I've learned is when you're looking at a carbohydrate, you want to go for fiber filled. So a good guideline for that is using, so you should always be reading your labels. The one thing that I've read, or that I've learned over the past, 3 years, is the importance of knowing how to read labels. So when you're looking at the back of a package, or whether it's bread, whether it's pasta, whatever, fiber filled carbohydrate, whether you're having fruits, I consider fruits fiber filled carbohydrates because they do have a little bit more sugar than things like that, but they also do have fiber, berries, things like that. Is when you're looking at it, so when it says carbohydrates, it breaks it down into fibers and sugars usually. So for every 10 grams of carbohydrates, you want to have at least 1 gram of fiber. And generally those foods are the ones that help you with sustainable energy, because we all know, sometimes if we have like simple carbs, like sugar or white pasta, white bread, things like that, oftentimes because of what it does in the body and how it breaks down in the body without the fiber, it just automatically breaks down into glucose, and it's a whole process, and I can't wait to go deeper and learn more about that in my class. But at the end of the day, at least for me, and I think this goes for most people, that you find that they don't really sustain your energy. A lot of times, you'll have a spike in energy and then you kind of crash. The way that these fiber-filled carbs are broken down, it's easier for your body to process it and gives you that energy to sustain, throughout the day. And obviously, in the morning, you're going to need more because you want it throughout the day. And then, you want to have a few fiber-filled carbohydrates as a portion of your lunch. And then for dinner, and this is super interesting, and I didn't actually learn this in the class that I'm currently taking, but I learned this in the certification course, is because carbs are for sustainable energy, your body may not need carbohydrates for dinner. Because if it's for sustained energy, if you're going to eat dinner and then a couple hours later you're going to go to bed, what do you really need carbohydrates for at dinner? And it varies. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing, but it's something you could try out, especially if you're failing to see results or you're having trouble sleeping. I know when I started, I still have carbs at dinner, but it's like from vegetables. It's not, like a piece of bread or some pasta or, beans or anything like that. And so you're getting those, you're eating veggies and stuff like that. So when you go to sleep, you're going to notice that your sleep is getting better. And we know that sleep is important to getting results. Sleep is essential to getting the results that we want. So, and it all ties in together. This is the thing. It's a full circle thing. So once you start working on, nutrition, and you start realizing, I really highly recommend reading what each macronutrient does for your body. So I've talked about carbs. Proteins help keep us full and satisfied. They help us build and repair muscle. So especially if you're working out, you want to get quality nutrient-dense protein. Oftentimes, proteins that, like fish, chicken, like lean proteins, are really good for you. And they have other things like, omegas and good fats and things like that. And then our fats, they help with our energy. They help with so many things. Like, fats get a bad rep because of the name, right? People think fats make you fat. And Sean Stevenson has talked about this on his podcast, The Model Health Show, fats don't make you fat. Any food group that you overeat on or you eat too much of in excess is going to, it's extra calories, so your body's got to store it somehow. And the other important aspect of nutrition, and this is probably something that nobody thinks about, is water. I've talked about it before, and I've always known that it was an important thing, but actually when I was studying yesterday and I was taking my first exam, it actually was talking about the purpose of water, and I didn't know. I mean, I guess I did in the back of my mind, but like, because your body is made up of so much water, you obviously need water, but it actually helps lubricate your joints as well. So especially if you're very active, you're going to want to drink water because you're sweating, and you want your joints to be protected. It also helps with digestion, and it's crazy like what it helps with. And I really, really, really recommend for you to not just hop on a diet train and to do your own research and play around and see what works for you. So I've talked about it. I did kind of like a keto-ish boost, which I'm coming out of today. And it was really helping me learn, and it's kind of mixing things up and helping, my body. I wasn't stuck at a plateau or anything. But I just kind of wanted to play around. I'm a student when it comes to my own body because I'm still learning what works, what doesn't work, what benefits each thing has. And for me personally, I need more fats in my diet. So I need to be a little bit lower carb, not like no carbs at all, but I need to have lower carbohydrates, fiber-filled carbohydrates, lots of veggies. It's good for digestion, bulks up your stool, and I need a higher fat level. So one of the ways that I do that is I add MCT oil, and it really does help with metabolism, with energy. I'm not getting that afternoon crash anymore, and it's really helpful because I'm learning what my body needs. I'm learning that certain things don't work for me, and I'm learning that certain things do. And obviously you want to go for like a whole foods based diet. Of course you can have, if it fits for you, you can have cheese. If it fits for lunch meat, things like that. You really have to find what works for you, and nutrition is a cornerstone of getting results. You've heard it said before, abs are made in the kitchen, and that's really true. I've talked about it before. When I first started out, I wasn't really concerned about nutrition. I was eating healthy. I was having salads here and there, wraps, things like that were considered, healthy choices. But I didn't know why. I didn't really have a purpose of why I was doing it and what purpose each thing that I was eating fueled my body. And, I still enjoy myself. But I'm really having fun mixing up my nutrition, trying out new things, and finding what works and what doesn't. And that goes in with timing too. So maybe your body needs a couple extra hours at night to metabolize what you ate for dinner, or even lunch, or even breakfast. Those are things that you can learn, and journaling is a really great way to do that. Tracking, seeing, okay, on this day I got the results that I was hoping for, but this day I changed up something and it didn't work. So now you can study that and you can see what does and what doesn't work. Again, nutrition is not a one size fits all thing. Nobody's body is the same as somebody else's. Everybody has unique things that work for them, little tweaks, and there is no miracle diet because we're also individual, that we really need to personalize our nutrition and not think of it even as a diet. We need to think of it something as long-term and sustainable, and something that you're going to enjoy doing for life. You don't want to follow a diet plan that restricts you and makes you feel stressed out. You don't want to do that for the rest of your life. You want to make it a habit to where you're enjoying yourself, you're satisfied, you're getting the results you want, and you're not stressed or feeling guilty or anxious about food. It's not, you don't want to go to family events and feel anxiety because you can't have something, or like, you just don't want to, you want to make it a lifestyle. You want to do something that is sustainable, that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life, that's going to work for you personally. There is no one size fits all. There is no cookie cutter diet that works for every single person who does it. It's like a fingerprint. Each person's nutrition is as unique as their fingerprint. Yes, they may be following the same basic rules, but they have to make tweaks here and there to individualize it and personalize it to what's going to get them the results that they're looking for. Because obviously, say you have someone who is 5'2", they're 110 pounds, and they have, let's say, 20% body fat. They are going to need something completely different than someone like me, who is 5'5", 175 to 176 pounds, and has probably close to 30% body fat at this point. I'm not really sure, because I don't really do that. I just do measurements and stuff like that, because I would want an accurate body fat or BMI. So those are my tips. I hope that you didn't think this was just a bunch of rambling, but I really did think that it was something that was important to address, because it is so essential to being successful in this journey and having the results that you want, and living a healthy lifestyle and being well all around, in all 6 dimensions, and just addressing that and reiterating that it's each individual person is going to have to find something that works for them. And you see it a lot of times online, where somebody says, I tried this diet, and somebody said, oh yeah, this diet's the best, this is the only diet that works. And then you have somebody else come on and say, oh well, that diet didn't work for me. And then there's like, oh well, why didn't it work for you? You were doing it wrong. No, it just didn't work for them, didn't work for their lifestyle, didn't work for their body type, didn't work for their metabolism. Maybe they need more calories than you do. Maybe they're more active than you are. Or maybe they work a desk job and they're not able to be up and around all day. Those are things we have to take into consideration when we are trying to find something that works for us. I know, like, what I'm doing doesn't work for a friend of mine, and so like, you really have to think of it as like an individualized plan, and you can follow these nutrition paths that have been laid out and structured, but just realize that, like, you don't have to follow them to a T. Like, you can personalize them, you can tweak them, you have to make them flexible to fit your lifestyle and sustainable. That way you're not always worried about what you're going to eat for the next meal, or why Suzanne got these results, but me and Lisa didn't. So I really think that you should keep that in mind with going into this field. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and that I've recently really started diving deep into my own nutrition and seeing what works and what doesn't. So thank you so much for joining me. If you didn't catch the first half, I will be putting these together for a podcast and YouTube video, so stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next episode. So much for tuning in today and sharing this time with me. Please stay tuned for future episodes and check out my podcast.